Yeah, it's a makerspace. Nipsey Hussle made it. And it's to get people into careers. So we were going to reach out and offer
this is magic
free courses for him.
Yeah, dude.
So it'd be cool to like partner up on that. And
no. So actually, I didn't do that outreach, but our executive director Ingrid, she actually did reach out to them, and
really,
yeah, like she had correspondence with Nipsey actually about like creating some sort of like urban collaboration, because we're like do you know, you ever been to Tomorrow's Aeronautical Museum? TAM? It's like it's the Compton Airport, but it's also like an aerospace and aeronautics museum. It's like right off Alondra. That's where we built our labs, like right across the street from there. But that's cool.
So it's active and live. You guys have labs that are open. Okay.
We opened this one. We opened it in October of last year, and it's the first makerspace to be built inside of a shipping container.
Oh, nice.
2 shipping containers that were literally welded together.
Hopefully the 40-foot ones or the big ones, right?
Yeah. Definitely. There's plenty of space in there, and it's outfitted with like everything you could need, from like 3D printers to laser cutters, milling machines, all that stuff. And it's cool because it has like global teleconferencing capabilities. So there's a webcam that can connect you to like students at MIT or students at Caltech.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's neat. We're still developing programming to go through it, but we've partnered with Compton College, and they're going to be mostly managing it.
Really?
Yeah.
If you guys need any help with the curriculum, we're looking to develop makerspaces.
I need help with the curriculum.
Okay, done. Yeah, done. We'll talk about it. Yeah.
I've been doing this by myself this whole time.
This is why we do this show, everyone.
We have like analyses of different cities and all the opportunities in them. So we have one at Compton.
Yeah.
Since I work next to Hawthorne, it's my day job.
Hey.
Yeah. So we have a report of basically like every single company.
Yeah.
And then every product they make and every skill they need and how many job openings they have.
That's exactly the model of the nonprofit Base 11 is we partnered with industry and like corporate partners. Deso, who 3DS.
Deso Systems.
Yeah, they're our biggest partner right now.
Really?
And
fantastic.
I don't know if you've heard of the $1 Million Space Challenge. It's like,
sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's like $1 million to the first student-led rocketry team.
Okay.
Deso helped develop that, and they're offering free certification and free software to all the students participating.
Really?
And I've been trying to integrate that back into our labs somehow to like reverse engineer, like, how much does a little above an entry-level engineer, like what skills do they need to hit the ground running as soon as they get?
Yeah. So my whole career is built around the software CATIA, which is a Dassault product.
Exactly. I saw that on here. I was like,
it's actually one of our courses. And I mean, when you pull the job report of every company in that local area, within 75 miles, the predominant CAD system is CATIA. So Dassault, to be a partner in a makerspace in that prime region is perfect.
Oh, gosh.
And then they have a whole stream of products, a whole portfolio.
Absolutely.
So product lifecycle management, CAD, CAM, computer-aided machining, and so on. So it's actually huge there.
Neato.
Hi, chat room. Our guest is Cody James. I mean, we'll tell you in like 13 minutes when we're live, but Cody runs OpenX Education. They're basically doing affordable, kind of hands-on skills training for like technical skills, really useful in aerospace. So like things like carbon fiber, CATIA, like.
Continue.
Now we're on Instagram currently. So we're just chatting about ways that we can, get collab together and
change the world.
Pretty much change the world. Get people trained up in these skills that we're going to need. Like if we're going to be going to space and be a spacefaring civilization, we're going to train ourselves to know how to build like parts that can go to space. It's kind of useful. You're going to need that skill if you're on a different planetary body. It's going to be.
And is the whole 4-year university track, is that the only way to develop these qualified folks? We're going to learn that? Probably not.
You're about to find out.
Maybe not. I don't know. That's what we're going to learn.
Yeah, so... And already we've just established a new, collaboration and partnership between 2 really amazing organizations. So my work here is done. I should just, walk off set now.
We'll wrap it up.
That's it. We're done. Thanks for tuning in.
Cool beans.
Did you get any questions from the last video? You know how they put questions in the Discord or in the comments? Any about the upcoming video? I tried looking around, but I didn't see any.
Yeah, people tend to more ask their questions live than beforehand. So I think people really enjoy that instant. I was going to say instant gratification. I don't know if that's the right
It's a good
phrase.
buzzword for today's age.
Yeah.
That is relevant.
One thing I was going to ask you about at the very start of the interview, it's totally not related to space.
Okay.
But did you build like a headphone accessory for an iPhone?
Yeah. I got destroyed on that.
What?
Yeah.
What was that?
I in 2016, I had a iPhone 7, and I was really frustrated because they took out the headphone jack. So I taught myself how to make Gerber files, which is an consumer electronic drawing file, and built the schematics, and then applied for a patent, and then sent the manufacturing plans to China to get developed, and we got 13,000 pre-orders.
Oh, dang.
For this little headphone jack. And I put it in China and put them under this company in Shenzhen district, and put them under a non-disclosure and a non-compete and all these different things.
Wow.
And then we started getting shipments of the headphone jacks. But the same day that I got the shipments, I started seeing them pop up everywhere online for $2.
Oh.
So I was like, and then I reached out to the company. It was the same design. It was everywhere. Alibaba, it was on everything.
Oh, shit.
And I reached out to them, and they were like, basically, they said, "What's your legal budget?" Like a challenge. Like, go ahead.
Oh,
Sue us.
I was like,
oh my
"Ooh."
God, that's terrible.
It was a good effort, but I learned a lot, so
Yes.
that's what's important. But
dang, that is just bad faith. Oh, that's terrible. I'm so sorry. But like you said, hopefully you learned a lot.
oh yeah, that was like a whole college degree of business education.
That is gnarly.
So it's good, but.
What was the initial investment, if you don't mind me asking?
I put in like 9,000.
Okay.
So, tooling, initial manufacturing, first batch. So.
Were you still able to sell the ones that you received?
No, because they lied about a certification on it. So it wasn't Apple approved, which was in our documentation. They saved money because I guess they have to pay extra for each chip that goes into it, and then they sent us dummies. I was like, damn, we just got.
Whoa.
There's no rules.
There's no
with
recourse that you. This is like the
There
Wild Wild
is.
West.
There's recourse, but it takes a lot of legal capital.
Yeah.
So,
and that's just more
if-
sunk costs.
So I was going to ask that in the main interview, but now
That'll
that
derail.
it's
It's
totally
such a mess.
really sad story kind of in a way.
Yeah.
So maybe we won't delve into that.
Okay.
Maybe not. But I do want to bring up something else that you do that's not space. You like
Okay.
cars, right?
Love cars, yeah.
What's your favorite car?
I have a Tesla now, but I had a GTR before. Somebody has a Tesla out there. We have the same performance model.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Wait. Did you drive your Tesla
Hey,
here?
I did, yeah, it's out there.
You guys need to race your Teslas!
They are. Yeah, it's a 3 performance. The 3 will be.
He has a 3 and an S.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the S we
Fantastic.
have, yeah.
They're both so nauseating. Those cars are just.
Oh yeah, you don't like acceleration. That's right. Yeah, fun
It's like a
fact.
rocket taking off.
Yeah.
It took me a full 36 hours to get back to an equilibrium after he zoomed twice in a row in his Tesla on the way to
Not
Disneyland.
much. I brought stickers if you would.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, here you go.
Dude, thanks. Oh, it's a brain. That's rad.
Yeah, that's the logo. So it's
That's really cool.
Actually, last week we just got approved for the copyright on that, so I got all the
Nice.
documents. It was really cool.
Hey, you learned from
So,
your China experience.
There you go. We just don't bring up China because that's
Here we go.
a sore subject.
We'll skip over that.
It's a good learning
Question.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Thanks for
that's-
walking
That's
us
how
through
I-
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
no such thing as failure. There's only learning opportunities.
Yeah,
Right?
that's how I feel about anything. It's like, if you don't give it a shot, you wouldn't know. So it could have taken off. But yeah, so now it's indoctrinated into the Forbes bio.
Is it really?
It
Well,
is, yeah,
that
yeah.
provides color to your career and your background, I think.
Try a
though.
bunch of weird random stuff. so.
Everybody, yeah, and
Yeah.
also, I mean, it's hard. Oh yeah, it's hard to trust somebody who's only had success after success after success.
Oh no,
you
I'm
know?
#1 failure.
And to be
like-
honest, and that's what we should talk about is the
Yeah.
whole failing forward idea,
Oh,
just
yeah.
the overall changing climate of education in general. There's some major paradigm shifts going on.
Huge.
And I think that what you do is kind of at the forefront of that. So it's really exciting.
I think people getting out of their comfort zone and not being scared of failure and
Yeah.
being able to just like you said, lean into it, fail forward.
Exactly, yeah.
That is critical.
Yeah, and I think that it goes along with the makerspace ideology.
Yeah, it's
how
true.
many iterations do you need before you get to the iPhone, and then beyond that, yeah. So the feeling's good, important.
Who is GLTC Princess? Or is that a random subscriber? Oh, okay.
Wait, no, that's
No.
her.
Who's
That's
Carrie
Ann.
Oh, Carrie Ann. Okay.
No, that's Ben. Sorry. Third time's charm.
Ben's princess?
Yeah, Princess
Okay.
Ben.
Who's Tars?
Tars is the nickname of it's the bot, isn't it?
It's
No,
AI,
Colton.
right?
No, it's Colton.
Tars is Colton?
Tars is
Colton was
Colton.
Colton.
Colton uses the handle Tars. Colton is our chat room guy. He programs all of the chat room stuff.
Swear to God, I thought it was AI this whole time.
So actually, we have a really cool chat room. Just to like very briefly say what it does. It pulls in all of the chat from like YouTube.
This right here.
Yeah.
Wow.
It pulls in Twitter, Twitch, Discord, and Facebook and YouTube, and aggregates them in one like IRC chat client thing, and then like we can pull any of those on screen. So like what you see on the bottom there, we can actually like send out to
Interesting.
like the people. So like you could have your question on the screen in like real time, and
It works pretty well, actually.
yeah.
Oh, no, I'm just reading off the screen.
Do we want to go over images?
Oh yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point. We should do that.
Oh,
So this is a Boeing.
FOB. Yeah. Fuselage automated upright build. It's the concept that aerospace needs to transition more into what automotive does, which is a mass manufacturing using robotics and automation. It was a pilot program. And then this is a Delta IV cryogenic fuel tank using automated fiber placement.
That's
Some people laying up carbon parts. That's another automated fiber placement machine. This is what I actually do in the morning. So I did that this morning.
oh, cool beans.
And yeah, that was my last project.
So you still work for?
Yeah.
Okay,
I still
cool.
work a full-time job, and that's how I mitigate, risk of fluctuating income or anything with OpenX to
Absolutely.
keep it stable
Hell yeah.
before it takes off. So a lot of hours. I can't even explain, but this is just a picture of an engine. I actually don't have a story behind that one. Oh no, that was for CNC, I see. This is CNC programming. Each line you see is geometry. It's a toolpath where a machine will trim out different items. That's when I started. That's actually 1 year ago. So that's the
Wow.
OpenX facility. It's just a small little baby facility. It's Marilyn Houston, Forbes' world's most powerful woman.
Lucky CEO.
This was so when I started OpenX, I just did everything in my living room. So this is like a funny photo of like me in my living room just trying to get it done, like make it work.
Yeah.
And the girl I was dating at the time got so mad because I was laying up carbon parts in the fumes.
Oh, did she get high?
Yeah, she got super high. No. This is, again, like the OpenX facility when we just started. That's our advisor, Major General Steve Sargent.
Cool.
And that's a robot we bought.
Is that a drone part on the left?
It's a drone, yeah. I should
Yeah.
have taken that out, but that's the OpenX facility now. It's grown up a little bit.
Almost looks like Hydra in a way. The symbol from this angle. That's really cool.
That's the new carbon kits. So it's quite the upgrade from this. That was when we did training for Virgin Orbit, Richard Branson's space company.
Yeah.
This was, if you type in carbon fiber on YouTube, the top video, like 250,000 views, I was watching it and it had this. That's from the carbon kit. I was like, oh, cool. I wonder if this guy's in. But yeah, somehow this person in Texas found it. So I thought that was cool.
Wow.
Maybe we should put the photos, the empty room and then the filled room back to back.
Yeah. So our director Dada will kind of just listen to what you're talking about, and then as we go through the story, like if you start talking about the CNC stuff that you did when you were trying to go put yourself through college, he'll bring up those machines so people get some context.
Sweet.
Yeah. And we should definitely play with the starter kit at some point too.
Absolutely. If you want to hold on to it and then pull it out anytime you like.
Yeah, sure.
It's got
this is
bubble wrap in
exciting.
it, so we'll just.
Just gonna take a sneak peek. Okay. All right. Cool. Let's bubble wrap. I might get distracted by the bubble
I was gonna
wrap.
say, put it down, Lisa.
Okay. So basically, we have 1 minute. So we're going to start off talking about your path and your journey to get where you were, and then leading up, the whole college affordability thing, your alternative kind of career path, and then the point where you were like, I'm going to start OpenX education.
Okay.
Then we're going to move into what does OpenX do right now? Why is it important that you're doing it differently? Stuff like that, and then we'll go into the future, talk about the STEM cafes and stuff like that.
Okay.
So we'll probably bring this out in like the second segment when we're talking about OpenX.
Okay.
Sounds giggity.
I don't know where to hide this. Right here.
There you go.
Hidden.
right, yeah. Jay, do you want to open or do you want me to
I was going to say, you should open.
Okay.
I've been opening a lot the past few weeks.
I don't even remember what to say. Am I on this camera? I'm here, right? Okay. And welcome to Tomorrow. My name is Lisa, and I have my co-host Jade with me here. This is Orbit 12.17, and today we have an amazing guest for you. I'm super, super excited to introduce Cody James. Cody James is a Forbes 30 Under 30 winner. He also is running a skills and training education company called OpenX Education that works on making aerospace skills affordable and accessible. He was also Boeing's youngest advanced robotics programmer ever. So without further ado, I just want to say, Cody, like, how do you even get to be starting your own education company? And like, I don't think you took a traditional path, right? Because did you go to college and finish college?
I didn't finish college, no. So I think any like startup or idea or anything, I think the most impactful ones come from somebody's individual experience. And when they have kind of a frustration through a certain process or a system that's existed, they go out and they try to create something that fixes it for other people so they don't have to go through it as well. So yeah, to answer the question, when I was in college, I only lasted about 3 or 4 weeks. The big problem for me was, so I started at about 14 teaching myself CNC, which is computer numerical control machining, and inevitably programming as well. And when I was 18, to pay for college, since I couldn't afford it, I would work at a CNC shop after school. So school was like 7 a.m. to, I don't know, like 2:30 p.m., and then work was like 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. And what I saw when I was working was the technologies we were using, the software and everything else, it was actually like 10 or 11 revisions later than what I was learning at the community college. So when I saw that, and I had like $1,400, and I spent like $1,300 on that quarter.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
So I was like sweating nervously. And what I was learning in these classes was outdated technology. So I decided a few weeks into it that I was going to actually drop out, and I left college, and I just said, I'm going to take that same amount of time, and I'm going to devote it to learning whatever the latest skills are, the stuff that I see the CNC programmers using in industry, the stuff that I know that the big companies like Boeing and Lockheed and Northrop need. So, yeah, that's kind of my college experience.
It's funny, like I was looking up at Forbes, actually, was where I got this information. The average student debt per person in the U.S., this is U.S. Data, was about $38,000 per student.
That's insane.
So,
and that's kind of, I feel like, a lower estimate,
yeah,
too.
It's significant.
It's kind of a conservative one, yeah.
And then, you, like you mentioned, you pay all this money and you get all these skills out of it, except for the fact that it's 10-year-old skills.
Exactly. And then by the time you get your degree, so I'm sure you probably saw while you were learning these outdated, kind of skills in the classroom, is that, I mean, what's going to be the ultimate ROI on this? Like, you're $30,000 in debt and now you have a degree, but then you're still probably, employment's not guaranteed, essentially, because like you said.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like these skills, they tend to be outdated by the time you even graduate.
Yeah, and like we're kind of raised, at least in the United States, there's this socioeconomic structure where heavy on the socio, we really push like, oh, my parents said go to college, right? My parents said go through the university system.
Yep.
And I'm not against the university system. I think that it has phenomenal use cases, like medical, doctors, any highly crystallized, specialized field that should have a strong backed kind of like credential.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But the amount of jobs that are popping up, like programmers and robotics mechanics and CAD drafters and all these different things that don't really require somebody to have a degree, I think those will, really take over in terms of not needing to go through this long 4-year process, right? So,
and I think that's what's important here. I think a lot of our viewers, they might not work in the space industry right now, but that might be something that they want to get into. And like you just mentioned, like CAD drawers and people that use programs such as CATIA.
Yeah,
these are where you can kind of skill yourself in something specialized so that you can take these aerospace jobs and get into this industry, even though you might not have gone through a 4-year degree in that.
Right.
Because you ended up at an aerospace company.
Yeah, so when I was 19, I got into Boeing.
Wow.
So, so what happened was when I was 18, I left college, right? And then the next 9 months, I just said, I'm going to pretty much cut out everything social. So like not hanging out with anybody, partying or anything. And I downloaded every single manual I could find online. And with like my $90 Chromebook, I'd go to Starbucks because there was Wi-Fi there and we didn't have fast internet at home. So I would go there and just literally every single day replace all that college time with just downloading the information. Like I think of classes as really you're sitting in a room and downloading information at a certain rate of speed, right? And the instructor is providing that information. He's uploading it to, or he or she's uploading it to 30 people or so. So that gave me the opportunity to kind of get all this information and then download it at the rate of speed that I wanted, and not at the rate of the slowest person on that given topic in a class, right? So while in those like Starbucks study sessions, I spent about 9 months just going through everything, machine fundamentals and programming and operating and maintenance, and just trying to get a holistic view as much as I could to really lay the foundation. And about 9 months later, after applying for about 210 jobs at Boeing,
wow.
The logic was if I could get into even like a janitor position,
I
could talk to the manager that's in the CNC department or the NCR robotics. I got picked up from the robotics division for composites, composite carbon fiber. And yeah, they offered me a job at 19. So
that's amazing. And was this a job that was previously like only open to college students or college grads?
From what I remember in the division, I was like one of 2 or 3 people without a degree.
So how were you able to demonstrate your certification or like your aptitude for what you're about to be hired for?
That's a good question. So I think the certification, kind of like the notion of certifications is really odd. You show this piece of paper and it says, you know, I'm promising you with this letter that I know how to do a bunch of different things, right? And people take that at face value and say, okay, well, somebody has said that this person can do those things. But I like just kind of bypassing that and then taking those exact things and showing the manager.
Yes.
So the manager was there and he had like 3 or 4 technical experts in CATIA and robotics programming and composites. And I pulled out my phone and just started scrolling through, and I was showing them different models I made and parts, and I was
like a digital portfolio kind of.
A digital portfolio, exactly. And
my goodness,
when they saw that, they were like, yeah, this guy's really, he read all the skills that are in the job posting, and he's walking us through each one, and if he doesn't know something, communicating how he's going to learn it. So that was how I communicated to the manager.
So you spent a lot of time at Boeing, which is an aerospace company, and you actually worked on some aerospace projects, is that right?
Yeah.
So what was your highlight of your total experience at Boeing, and then why did you choose to leave?
Good question. The highlight at working at Boeing was working on, I think, the Delta IV cryogenic fuel tank using automated fiber placement. It was a Boeing-NASA collaboration, and I thought that it was just really interesting seeing such a large robot expedite the rate of manufacturing of something as laborious as composite carbon fiber. So I thought that was just impactful into kind of my own personal insights of how robotics can change a given industry. And I think that was definitely one of the coolest projects. The reason why I left was while I was at Boeing, I would listen to all these different managers talk about, we can't find people for composite layup. We can't find people that can program robotics. We can't find people who can maintain them. And every department I would go to, every division, every plant, people would be complaining about it. And it wasn't concentrated to just Boeing. As you go through the supply chain that provides to Boeing, it becomes larger and larger of a problem. And I was looking at it and I was like, well, what is the training industry like? So you look through it, and let's take one skill, for example, CATIA. That computer-aided design software is used at more companies worldwide than all of the others combined. So that's 2,800 in the US, 802 in India, and approximately 1,200 in the UK. For one computer-aided design software, it employs just a significant amount of people. And the training for it, if you want to learn that advanced skill, is between $4,000 and $6,000. You can Google it right now, go through the different options. So you have to pay a lot of money up front, and you have to travel somewhere like Salt Lake City, Utah in the United States, or you go to Seattle, Washington. And the training opportunities are very low, which creates a supply and demand issue. The demand may be high in industry, but the supply is low. So I had this idea of, what if you could just hire experts in the field and have them teach a holistic course, and you make it very engaging and fun and entertaining, and you don't put it for thousands, and you're able to lower it down for just a few $100s, so anybody around the world, from the comfort of their home, because it's online, can just get on and start learning this advanced skill set, and get a support community, and get access to industry mentors and so on. So I wanted to make that idea, but funds would be limiting, right? That's a highly capital intensive concept. So I left Boeing to go contracting and consulting out in aerospace. I had a few offers. I went out to the Midwest for a little while, over in Kansas, and I didn't like that much. And
I don't think many people like Kansas, right?
Kind of. Hopefully there's no viewers there. Okay, so it bounced really back.
I love Dorothy. Yeah.
Bounced back to Los Angeles really quick, and stayed here ever since for the last like 2.5, 3 years, and used kind of consulting and contracting in aerospace to accumulate the funds to be able to build the project.
And so now we have OpenX Education, and you're running these affordable programs that people can do to learn these skills that are so necessary in aerospace. Right. And you built up all this expertise in doing advanced manufacturing of composite materials like carbon fiber. Carbon fiber is one I really want to focus on here, because if you watch New Zealand, you might see that there's an entire rocket made from carbon fiber. And then, SpaceX's Falcon 9 has a carbon fiber interstage. We have carbon fiber overwrapped pressure vehicles that hold helium in a variety of different vehicles. We're basically using carbon fiber pretty much all over the aerospace industry. So, if this is a skill that maybe someone at home would like to learn about, if they come to you, how do they learn how to be an expert in carbon fiber and get a job in places like Virgin Orbit or Rocket Lab or SpaceX?
So I think to get something that can really impact the most amount of people, because there are so many jobs that are open for composites. It's just like you go to any company from Boeing or Lockheed Martin or Virgin Orbit or SpaceX, and if you look through the job openings, you'll see hundreds of composite technicians and then composite engineers, and just every category or subset of that one technology, because it's really a manufacturing heavy process, composites are. So we made the course. That one was actually one of our first courses, because it's so high demand in industry and there's no real opportunity to learn it online. We made it so anybody can join it with no background knowledge. And we kind of go through and we relate everything that we can to different like normal things. Nice. So I think it's important to work off of kind of like in an analogous way. You work off of, like, let's take a t-shirt and it has fabric in it. And imagine that fabric has a directional kind of strength, if you will. And then you can introduce, like, let's say super glue, and then the super glue will harden and make it into this very strong kind of sheet. These are the same fundamental principles of how composite carbon fiber works, but in a more tangible way, like something we all kind of get, right?
Yeah,
we all understand super glue and
t-shirts.
And t-shirts, right? So the difficult part about certain courses like composites is that's a hands-on process, right? And you're trying to teach it online so you can reach as many people as possible. And I read this paper, and it's from 1995 by a guy named Neil Fleming. So it's he asserts that there are 4 different primary modules of learning. It's V, A, R, and K. So there's visual, somebody who learns by watching. There's auditory or audible, somebody who learns from listening. So those 2 you can already tell that's people who do great in school, good at lectures, right? Then there's reading, and somebody who can get sucked into a book and then like they can download information at a high bandwidth through that. And then there's kinesthetic. So kinesthetic is hands-on learners. Like personally, I'm very kinesthetic in reading. Those are my 2 like strong suits, but we're all a mix of different categories in there. So how do you take something that's a hands-on skill, and how do you put it into every single person's home so they can make something, and so they can go into an interview and then show the hiring manager, look, I don't just have a piece of paper that says I can do this, but like I made a panel out of composites and I can explain how I did it.
There's a fantastic question from the chat room here asking, it's from Chris Adams on YouTube. They asked, I played with wind tunnels in Penn State. Yeah. How can you do that on your own?
That's a great question, yeah.
Another, like, I guess that they're kinesthetic learner to be able to go and use that kind of equipment. So if you're,
good question.
if you're at home and you're taking one of the OpenX education courses, you can't just go out to a wind tunnel and kind of practice.
You gotta have a big home.
A lot of energy.
So then how do your students get to experience this hands-on learning?
Yeah, so, and the model is not going to work for 100% of different skill sets. Wind tunnels and aerodynamics, the closest you would get is simulation in a computer-aided design software. But that's actually a really good point. How do you take skills that are heavily mechanical, like take up a lot of space and are difficult to traditionally get near, and how do you put that into every single person's home? So we have a course for robotics, and what we did with that is, how do you put a robot in every single person's home? So what we did was, we set up this cell with the robot, and it's a Fanuc robot. We really, really like Fanuc. It's the world's largest robotics company. And we put up a camera and then a FTP server, file transfer protocol server, and anybody who's taking the course can simulate their program in a software. And then they can extract the program and then upload it to the server, and the camera will start on a live video. It'll capture their program running and then performing it, pour a beer or a coffee or something.
Oh my gosh.
And there's a TV on the back that'll say, like, this is Lisa's program, right? This is Jade's program. And the video will record your actual program running. So that person now has a robot, what feels like in their home.
Yeah.
But they have the recording so they can show other people.
And hiring managers as well.
Oh my goodness.
So
I want to do that.
I know. I was like, I kind of want to go like program my own now.
Or we could get one for the studio of tomorrow, and all our viewers could upload programs to it.
Oh my god.
What if we started?
And then we can have a talent show.
Yeah.
Oh my god, like a robot talent show.
Oh my goodness.
That's amazing. So going back to OpenX education and kind of like your whole format and whatnot, we had a good question in the chat from Jared, our very own Jared Head, actually, about so we're kind of, you know, I think a lot of people are familiar with the onslaught of different online-based education sources. So how's OpenX different from programs like Khan Academy or MIT edX?
Yeah, great question. So when I was in those Starbucks study sessions, right, MIT's edX was like the platform I used. It's how I went through and learned at a better like environment for me, math and engineering, and I went through the physics courses that are kind of like open source there. Those platforms are so critical. Like we have to protect those. They're so important. The difference is these teach you fundamental skill sets. We're teaching more crystallized into different niches. So anything that's considered an advanced skill. So as an example, like for programming, we don't have a Python course. There are a lot of Python courses, but we do have like a Fanuc robotics programming course.
Okay.
That's a very niche skill.
Very specific.
Typically, we'll take anything that has historically been $3,000 to $8,000, and currently is $3,000 to $8,000, and then we've pretty much lowered it by about 90 to 95%.
Oh wow!
So, like the composites course, instead of paying $2,500, which is standard, if you go somewhere and learn, ours is like $249, and then we built a membership similar to how you guys have the Patreons in a sense, and then those people get it even further, 25% off. So.
And are there any kind of, do you have any partnerships with any colleges or universities that might give credit for these courses that you provide?
We don't have any that provide credits right now, but it's something that we've looked into a lot. So the dean of University of California, San Diego, and we meet up like every single month or two, Mary Wolshock, and she's a huge supporter of the idea. For her, university is, and if I could take something from one of our conversations, university is something where there's a high focus in academia on research. And the research is, you know, it's really what they kind of like can perpetuate their model off of. And what she'd like to see more in the future is more of an industrial focus. If we go back to your comment about you're not guaranteed a job, I think that universities, community colleges, training schools, anything should be portals to get you into a job. I think that should be the primary focus. So, yeah.
And the courses that you have now, you've got robotics, you've got CATIA, you've got composite materials.
Yeah.
Any others?
Yeah, 2 more. So CNC, computer numerical control machining, and we'll be getting into programming in that as well. It's important to note, like, when somebody signs up for the course, we actually push updates like every 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
We believe that, like, technology is going to develop.
Yes.
So if you sign up for something, you shouldn't have to pay for DLCs or buy a new one when it gets better. It should just get better. And it should just give you an email that says, hey, we've included this, this, and this. So the CNC will now include more programming. And then we have 3D design, which was, it's like, how do you design architecture, buildings, and skyscrapers? So
like prototyping and whatnot. And
exactly, yeah.
very cool.
So for those people at home that might be interested in learning a little bit more of what these programs actually have to offer, you actually very kindly brought a carbon fiber starter kit to us today. First of all, can you tell us a little bit about what is the starter kit and how does that fit into like the way you run your courses?
Right. So this was a pilot program that we came out with to address the V, A, R, and K. So we're trying to hit all of those, right? And we got visual and auditory down. We have reading down. There's plenty to read. There's plenty to watch, videos and everything. How do you get the kinesthetic, right? This is how you get it. So the starter kit.
Open it?
Go for it.
Yes.
Christmas
Like
morning.
Like an unboxing, yeah, okay. So we have some bubble wrap.
That is lovely.
We're not going to play with that.
My favorite part.
And would you like to?
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
you
like
have
legit
the
carbon fiber.
beautiful logo.
Is it actually
Yes.
legit carbon?
Absolutely.
Yeah, look at it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I know a certain CEO who would love this.
So go ahead and open it as well.
Oh, okay.
Anybody around the world, basically, as time goes on, and we have the
Smelling it?
Sorry, go ahead. Kinesthetic, olfactory learning.
yes, yeah. Wow. So the edges are taped because carbon fiber is woven.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So this prevents.
Can I touch it?
Yeah.
Yeah, pull the whole thing out, unroll it. There we go.
It's so soft. This is, oh my God, this is amazing.
Don't recommend making a blanket out of it. But
It also comes with epoxy resin
yeah.
And polyvinyl alcohol.
Of course.
Yeah, so the purpose of the polyvinyl alcohol is when you go to lay up composite carbon fiber, so it's a fabric, right?
Yeah,
Just like in your
exactly.
t-shirt. And the idea is you're the idea is you're going to lay this down, and it has a directional strength. You'll see from the lines, right?
Exactly.
And that's called the orientation. And you want to lay it up kind of like quasi-isotropic in a sense. So we're going to lay up one in a certain direction and then another in another direction to counterbalance the tensile strength.
Yeah.
Then what we'll do is we'll take the polyvinyl alcohol and put it onto a surface, like we use a glass plate for some of our videos, and this will act as a release agent. So the polyvinyl alcohol will allow you to cure what we called earlier the super glue over this, and it still won't stick to that surface. You can pull it right off.
Okay.
Oh, so ages ago when SpaceX were trying to build their big Falcon rocket from carbon, they had a giant layup tool.
Yeah.
Like this giant round thing. So you would put this on the layup tool and then start laying down the fiber so that when it's ready, you can just pop it off.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same industry application. These are more consumer friendly. We use Easy Composites. They've been so good to us, and we push all of our members to order from them. You know, they're based out of the UK, but they get stuff to us in like 2-3 days.
What?
I think it's amazing.
How's that possible?
We ordered from like 9 different companies, and they got here first. So
Nice.
you have different things like a mixing pot and laminating brushes. There are 2 different types of, there's a resin and a hardener. You put in the resin to the cup, and then you add the hardener, and it catalyzes it. And then you have like a time window where it's going to cure, it's going to become very hard, and you have to apply it to the material with the brush.
Got it.
Then when it hardens, thanks to the PVA, you peel it right off, and you have a carbon panel.
And in the course, I'm assuming there's like a video instruction kind of walking you through everything.
Yeah, there's tons,
And then after, so let's say they do that process, and then what can you do with it after that, besides have a slab of carbon composite?
You can use it as a mouse pad.
Oh, okay.
We're great. Surprisingly, I was just joking with my friend. He's on YouTube, Sean Duras. We were joking about making carbon fiber mouse pads, and we made one, and it reacts so quickly.
Oh, it's like super sensitive.
It's extremely sensitive. I didn't think that it would work well, but yeah. So
okay.
you could use it for a lot of different things. You can cut a body panel out of your car and then poorly put it into that. I don't recommend that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But an idea nonetheless.
We have a question from Hila pausing in the chat room saying, I believe it had to be heated. So do you have to bake the carbon?
Yeah, so there's different types of resin systems. That's a good question. Different types of resin systems. This one has its own kind of like exothermic reaction. When you mix those two chemicals, they catalyze and they create a cure process within just those materials. So this would be called a wet layup. What you're thinking of most likely is pre-preg. So there's another type of carbon where you'll get the materials. They'll come out of a freezer typically, and they're previously impregnated. Pre-preg. We use that in aerospace.
Pre-preg.
Yeah.
Love it.
So the material has the resin already in it. And you just lay it up, and then you vacuum bag it down. You suck all the air out, and then you add it to essentially a giant pressure cooker, which is called an autoclave, which is used also in the medical field. So those have to be heated. The ones that have two different chemicals in a wet layup won't really need to be heated because they have their own cataclysmic reaction.
Got it.
Oh, man. I really just want to make like a...
This is your guys's. You can make anything you want with it.
Wait,
so.
really?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my God, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
So we should leave it up to the community to decide what we should make with our carbon fibers. So make sure you leave a comment below on what you think we should build, and then we'll probably stream it because that's what we do best.
Heck yeah.
Or maybe that's, yeah.
I think that's an absolute, we should definitely do that. Oh my God, thank you so much. Because I was, and I've mentioned on the show before, I don't come from a technical background.
Okay.
As I work with engineers, I really just wish it makes me wish I did go to school for something in engineering. Yeah. But, you know, we're kind of, there's different things that intimidate people away from the STEM, particularly engineering. It's very, you know, but something like this gets me very excited for it. So thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm going to become a carbon composite engineer now. How about that? How cool.
And that's the cool thing. I think that's why this is so important. It's because there are people out there that aren't necessarily working in technical fields. Like they might not be an engineer. Maybe they're a banker and they get a hands-on project like this where they can actually realize, you know what? Working with carbon fiber and composite materials is not that hard.
It's not as intimidating as one would think.
Once you actually get to hands-on experience this, that might be that stepping stone that you need to go and pursue this as a career.
Yeah.
And that is really, really important.
Yeah.
It might even be important for people of a higher age than we are.
Enterprise learners.
Yeah.
Yeah. James Atchison in the chat says, what about older people like in their 50s or older?
Yeah, it's a good question. So one time I was looking at like the analytics of how old the people that currently our members are.
Yeah.
And we have like about a cumulative 12,000 members or so.
Oh my goodness.
And about 18 to 22% of them are over 50.
That's wonderful.
I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And when I was at Boeing, especially in the field of robotics, this field was really built by people in the 70s and 80s, robotics was. And they're near retirement age now, and the rate of technology developing so quick, they have about 10 years, 5 years left before they want to retire, and they want to learn the latest and greatest skill sets. The beautiful thing about what we do here is like anybody with no background knowledge and no prerequisites or anything, there's like anybody can sign up. So it's really open education.
What about your global reach? Are most of your members from the US, or do you kind of see a global audience?
So I don't know how, but we, I guess word of mouth, we've never marketed anything or done any marketing, but we have at least 10 members in 90 countries. And the top 4 are United States, Australia, and the United Kingdom and India. I thought that was incredible.
Yeah.
So.
And how do you find your instructors?
So the instructors are a combination of just networking in industry, really. So like one example is like one place I used to work at, I met one of the senior composites engineers for Lockheed Martin. And this gentleman, Paul Riney, he's on the patents for the Joint Strike Fighter. He's on like every advanced manufacturing project for automated fiber placement and composites. And I just reached out to him and basically said, hey, do you want to help take all of the knowledge that you see in industry and give it to everybody in the world?
Yeah.
Also, like, I'll pay you.
Yeah, also, you'll get it.
And, yeah, now he's on the carbon course. So there's a podcast with him giving all of his insights and his journey and his, like, kind of history with the materials since the 70s.
So you really do have these technical people in industry, in aerospace companies, building real space hardware that help.
That is the point.
And
yeah.
100%.
It's like you're cutting out the middleman in a way, because it's directly from industry to student, and that's got to be
exactly.
that had. I mean, have you got the attention of like different industries, different corporations? Like, hey, we love what you're doing, because talent acquisition can be a very expensive and lengthy process.
Yeah.
It's not the most efficient to go through the universities. So yeah, have you gotten like attention from companies like that?
Yes. Yeah. So we're always working with like different companies and seeing how we can provide the most value, because like you said, talent it's a significantly difficult problem, but it's a weird problem because it's not like people don't want to work at these jobs, right?
Exactly.
I don't talk to many people who are graduating with their degree or that just work generally in aerospace that don't want to work at Lockheed Martin, like a phenomenal company like that.
Absolutely.
Or SpaceX or Virgin Orbit, any of these just incredible companies. There aren't a lot of people that don't want to work for them. And then at the same time, these companies, you look at Lockheed Martin, they have right now 6,928 job openings right on their website.
You just know that.
Wait,
off the top of your head.
6,000?
928, yeah. And so the top, there's two primary categories. It's engineers and analysts. Those are the top two. And within each of those, there are three subsets. So on engineer side, it's quality engineers, field service engineers, people who go out and service machines, and systems engineering, which is that's a huge category on its own. And then on the other side, it's analysts. And within that, there are supply chain analysis, like people who work by identifying, maybe problems in their supply chain. That company has such a big supply chain. They employ so many people total. And then there are IT analysts and financial analysts. So those are the top 6 jobs that represent that large of pool. So if you guys ever want to go through that, I'll share the data with you guys. It's just off their website, so, and Glassdoor and all the different things.
I just love that another one of those huge needs that they have is like finance and IT analysts and stuff like that. It's
huge.
It's not necessarily like you don't necessarily have to be an engineer or doing these technical skills to get into those companies.
Yeah.
That's
so
pretty cool.
we actually met in Dubai?
Abu
Dhabi. Yeah. And so that was at Global Space Congress. The year before that, I was at a Global Aerospace Summit, and I was speaking about the talent problem and how we need, not like saying this is going to be the only solution to it, just that we need more solutions. The person that spoke right after me was Marilyn Houston, which is Lockheed Martin's CEO. And she gave a 90-minute speech on how they need more technical talent, just in all forms, all shapes, sizes, all the way around the world. Like, we need more people who can perform different skill sets, right? And it's going to be difficult to put back in there. You might just put it in the box.
I just want it to stay pristine.
So when she came up off the stage, I was next to who became the advisor of the project and a mentor, Steve Sargent. So he kind of bumped my shoulder and was like, "Here's your shot." And I just stood up and walked straight for her. And
amazing.
The CEO of Lockheed.
Yeah. And I basically walked up and said, "Hi, Marilyn. I said, I work for you." And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "I work for you because, I'm working on this startup and we provide talent to you endlessly. We actually take all the courses that stay, all the roles that stay open for the longest, and we reverse engineers the skills that you can't find people with and create opportunities for people to learn those to fill those jobs at your company." And she loved the idea. And she said, "I need you to sit down immediately with this gentleman, Rod Mikowski, who's the senior vice president of, I believe, he has many different roles, so a lot of different things. But yeah, she wrote down the contact info and then handed his information over, and yeah. So ultimately, what we would love to do is just partner with companies that have a need for talent, that have a need for training on different seemingly esoteric skill sets, and help just connect the two sides of the problem, which is people want to work at these amazing companies, and the amazing companies need people that have the different technical skill sets.
And so do you have any partnerships in place with Lockheed? I know you've also worked with Virgin Orbit before. Any partnerships with them?
Yeah, so my partnership is kind of like a loose terminology, people that you work with regularly, kind of. So Lockheed Martin, we're still having conversations with them. There's a lot of just incredibly smart people there, but it is a very big company. You know, it takes a long time to talk through all the different channels. And Virgin Orbit, so they're based out of Long Beach here as well. And like, let me tell you, that company, that's just such a great company. Like, the quality of life when you walk through the factory.
Yes.
Right.
Everyone's so happy.
So happy.
And it's so different from other aerospace companies where everybody's a little
gray.
sad.
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely.
So good. So you walk through and it's like, do you want coffee? Do you want snacks? Like, we got your breakfast, and it's like
camaraderie. Everybody's just stoked to be there.
Yeah.
Energy's like up here.
It's huge, huge.
It's amazing.
They found OpenX, and they actually brought us on, and we trained every composite engineer at their company on the advanced skill set of FiberSim, which is Fiber Simulator. It's owned by now Siemens, who owns NX Unigraphics, the CAD software. So we trained all their engineers. It was about 30 of them, and helped provide essentially talent to their workforce. So yeah, that was good. So.
Where do you see OpenX expanding into next? You know, you've got your composites courses. You've got like five courses currently now. So what skill sets will you work on next?
Yeah, so what we want to do is we're taking, kind of like with that data from Lockheed Martin, all of the companies in the United States, and extracting out all of the jobs that have been sitting open for the longest. We built a data extraction tool that pulls from all of the career boards on all major companies. For the sake of just like being able to penetrate a market successfully because of the knowledge we have, we're going to focus on aerospace to begin, but we really see it evolving into general technology, automotive, and really everything else.
Absolutely.
So the next steps will be different CAD courses like SolidWorks and NX Unigraphics. We're going to make a fleet of different programming courses that are only going to be like $5, like Python programming, C++. These are basics that I think everybody should have the opportunity to have, right? Like, and then every course we make, we have kind of a different approach. So somebody said at that event we were at, Global Space Congress, they were like, online courses only have a 2% completion rate. And I was like, that's interesting, because I read all the papers, on as many as I can, and I've never seen anything that says 2% completion rate. But what I found was there was like a 6% from a free online course that was like 15 minutes long. I was like, What we do with all of our courses to keep engagement really high is we turn it into like a documentary. And when you join it, there are different videos that tell you a story of how you're connected to a bigger part of humanity through learning this skill set. The computer-aided design course, CATIA, when people join that course, it's like you're learning about different incredible innovations in humanity. The Falcon 9, the Falcon Heavy, the space station, everything. All of these different incredible projects were made in a CAD system, in computer-aided design. It doesn't happen on pen and paper like it used to. So we tell this story and connect people to that technology, because I believe when you're passionate about something, you can really learn it best. And with that, we really haven't had anybody who has started a course and not finished the content that's provided.
Yeah.
At least not before we add more and more and more stuff to it. So.
Wow. That's to get that amount of engagement and success is really commendable.
And to make it so just relevant and so, like
enjoyable.
You said, cultivating their passions for it. I mean, I think that's a model that should be adopted into high school and even before. Because, I mean, talk about how much just general student engagement would skyrocket if you're to connect it to a bigger story, a bigger picture.
Yeah.
So that's very commendable.
In school, I remember I would like sit there and I was thinking like, when am I ever going to use this? Like, why is this important? I don't get it, right?
Yeah.
And my ADD would just thrive because I'd be thinking of everything else. So being able to just like in the robotics course, we talk about, it actually starts off with this kind of like horror beginning. It's like what people imagine robotics are like. And it's like, Terminator, Skynet, and Boston Dynamics, and
the wonky,
but then it pivots out and it's like, but that's not actually what robotics are like. And it shows more of what industry's like. It's just really like a 6 degree of freedom arm, or what's called a delta robot that has 4 basic legs that pick and place different items on a conveyor belt. And like that kind of paradigm shift from what we think robotics are to what they actually are, and telling it through a story cinematically. We have a new head of cinema or content, Jeffrey Lithium, and he's phenomenal at just storytelling.
Wow.
It's like what he does. So
I think we both recognize here at TMRO that storytelling is really quite important, and it's kind of, without a story, you're never going to hold people's interest. So if you can tell a story about things such as technical as composites or CAD or you know, how to program a CNC machine, I think again it's super commendable. But let's go a little bit even further into the future. You've got the courses that you have now, but what's your ultimate vision for what OpenX education can provide our society to get people learning these skills that will eventually help humanity get to live and work and thrive in space?
Yeah, so ultimately what I envision it becoming is, when I started out, I didn't have fast internet at home, and I didn't have like a really good place where I could just sit down and like focus, right? And where I found kind of comfort and my ability to grow was Starbucks cafes, which have their pluses and their minuses, right? And what I really envision OpenX becoming is kind of this community hub where you go to any major or minor city around the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, India, Japan, everywhere. And you can find a coffee shop where you can go in and get fast Wi-Fi for free. You can enjoy a reasonably priced like cup of coffee, just like, you know, be comfortable. But at the same time, across all the walls, there are starter kits, and there are different categories in the room with different technologies, whether it's computers that are loaded with the greatest CAD systems like CATIA and NX Unigraphics. There are small robots that anybody can program right there and learn. There are just opportunities in this community learning center, and we call it an open cafe. Yeah. So it's a portal to connect communities to companies. And the curriculum is built off of what companies there are within 50 miles and what their needs are. So if there's Boeing and Lockheed, two incredible companies in this one region, then their largest job openings or the products they develop there, the skills that they focus on, would be what is taught at that community. And anybody can walk in and essentially have a gym for your brain.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, my goodness. Oh. I hope that's how you market it as well. A gym for your brain. Oh, my goodness.
I would definitely go.
I'd be there like every day. Be like, all right, I'm going to go to the gym, and then I'm going to my brain gym.
Yeah. So for people at home that maybe want to take these courses or get involved, especially people overseas as well, Raj Luther is asking if people overseas can do these courses. Where can they go? Where can they find out more information about you?
Just our website, openxeducation.com. And then we actually have like a really big community. It's a Facebook group. So that's actually how the project started, OpenX, was when we were beginning, I just made this Facebook group, and I was working at Boeing when I was 21, and basically I had a lot of friends, because I'm into cars, I bought a GTR, and they were wondering, like, how'd you buy a GTR at, like, 20? And I just told them, if you can learn an advanced skill set and get into one of these well-paying jobs, then, you know, I'm not saying it's a good decision to buy a GTR, but that's kind of like how I did it.
Yeah.
And we made this Facebook group, and the idea was we had like 70 members, and I cold called companies, training companies. And my number one focus was CATIA, because it's such an underrated skill. Like, if you know CATIA, you can, and if you market it right, you can get into a lot of different jobs, a lot of different opportunities. I cold called training companies, and the price for training for just the basics, and it was like a 5-day course, was like $3,000 to $5,000. Right? And I told them, one of them had an online learning one, and I said, if I can get you 10 times the amount of people, just this one time, would you lower it by 10 times? About 90% or so. So one order of magnitude. And they said, yeah, if you can get 10 times the amount of people, they were getting like 12 people a month or something. So I said, okay, 120 people. And we called it a group buy. So that's actually an old, it's a Chinese bartering trick. Group buying something at a marketplace. So we grouped together 120 people, and I went back to the company in like 2 weeks.
My goodness.
And I called them, and I was like, okay, I got 120 people. They'll buy it for, it was like $399 instead of like $4,000.
It's like a Costco, but for education.
Absolutely. I mean, this is so,
So there was this guy, Michael Cirillo, and he just came back from serving in the U.S. military, and he got medically disqualified, and he was back in Ohio. And in Ohio, there aren't a lot of opportunities to learn things. So when I heard about his story and how he's trying to find a great career, we grouped together, the group did, and we said, you know what, we're going to sponsor your portion, and we're going to get it so you can take this course. Because I think that if you're serious about this, if you're going to learn this skill and you're going to apply at jobs, there are a lot in Ohio. So he took the course, he finished it, and I believe within 5 weeks, which is incredible, he landed a job for like $30 an hour at this incredible aerospace company. And he was able to like kind of reassemble everything and live a really healthy, good life. So
good.
I still talk to Mike, and yeah, it's just that kind of stuff. It takes a lot of effort because I do all of this after work, but it's so worth it.
Yeah, those success stories.
Even that one success story that shows, you know, if this is really your dream and you want to do it, you can take these kind of courses and change your life in 5 weeks, was it?
Well, that was, one scenario, yeah.
Yep.
If somebody's driven enough, the weeks or the months, it varies significantly because of people's effort and their engagement to it and their way to communicate it.
Yeah.
So, like, what one person can do in 6 or 12 weeks, another person could do in 6 or 12 days. But at the same time, another person would do in 6 or 12 months.
Yeah.
And it's important to emphasize, too, that we all have our own timelines.
Absolutely.
And there's no use in comparing to somebody who does it in 6 days.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own life. So
exactly.
Working at your own pace, this is why we don't pay attention to really, like, completion rates or, like, how long it takes for someone to finish it. That's their life, their journey. What we focus on is that they have everything they need. All the courses, once you get it once, you own it for life. And it's available 24/7. So you could log in at 1 a.m. for 5 minutes or the next week or anything. Really, we just want to provide people with all the tools that they can set up themselves with. So.
Wow. Well, Cody, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
And telling our viewers, you know, this really amazing resource that you can use if you're interested in these kind of hands-on aerospace skills. If you want to get yourself a carbon kit, go on and check out their website, openxeducation.com. We're going to be building this kit here at the TMRO Studios. I don't know what we're going to make yet.
But
you guys are
amazing.
voting on it. Someone said electron rocket. Someone said a carbon fiber tiara.
What if we make a carbon fiber cat bed?
We could do that.
For Senor Rogers.
But again, thank you so much for coming on and telling us how we're going to train the aerospace generation of the future.
Gen.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, no worries. And before we go, we do want to give a big shout out to our Patreon supporters. We couldn't do this without you. Jade, do you want to give me a shout out?
I'm sorry, where am I looking? Yeah, absolutely. We would love to thank all of you folks who make this show possible and allow us to interview wonderful folks such as we did today. So, of course, there's different tiers. You can donate however you feel comfortable. You can head on over to patreon.com/TMRO. And if you can't donate monetarily, then you can absolutely support us in many other ways, such as smashing that subscribe button, hitting that like, sharing us with your closest friends and family, and, of course, tuning in every Saturday. We absolutely love to have you here. You're a great community. And big ol' thank you. And I think on that note, we are ready to say goodbye. So thank you for joining us. This was a lovely conversation. Leave a comment below about how you felt about today's show, and we'll see you next weekend.
Bye.
I was going crazy. I was looking at both. I didn't know which camera to look at, so I split my eyesight between both of them.
He was on the slates. There'll be no.
Oh, so you didn't even know that.
Yeah, you didn't even need to look.
Sorry.
Are we still on?
This is the first time we've filmed without being able to see ourselves in some monitors.
I'm so sorry.
Really?
Yeah, we are still on. We're just like wrapping up. I threw that to you without warning you, and I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's
because I opened and I was like, well, you should close because I opened. But then I was like, and Jade's gonna shout out the patrons that she doesn't know what the levels are called or the numbers or whatever. I'm sorry.
No, don't be ever.
You should have said something.
That's the magic of the show. I'm sorry.
You didn't know which camera to look at? So it's like Steve Brule.
Well,
where?
Apparently the slates were up. And that was off, but I thought you meant to do that because you're bent, you're innovative.
It's a new thing.
I thought you just didn't want us to pay attention to ourselves. Oh my God.
Well, I don't.
This would have been so helpful.
But you still need to have like context.
No, this is good. You know what this is? This is squatting without the mirror. You need to learn how to train without looking at yourself in the mirror, and this is it. We need to learn how to train talk without looking at ourselves in the monitor.
That is not where I thought that was going.
Wow, me neither.
What the hell did you think? I'm talking about.
Yeah, no.
Anyways.
Oh man.
So that was a great conversation. Thank
that was
you
good,
for
yeah.
having us.
Thank you for having me.
Us having you. I mean,
the chat room is all really excited.
Look at them.
I
They
think
love
half
you.
of them are probably going to sign
there.
up and do your course.
Cool.
because
I hope so.
Amazing.
I'll keep a log of who came from tomorrow. They can,
Oh,
there's a who referred you, and then we can keep up with their journeys and maybe shout them out on the show.
Oh my God, that would be so
They're
cool.
like-
So
yeah, that'd be awesome.
I had a super quick question because this
Yes.
wasn't relevant to the conversation per se, but
Okay.
so the way that you're democratizing all of these courses and skill sets,
Yeah.
you said you are able to view kind of like the analytics of like who's taking your courses in terms, because there's also a huge diversity issue when it comes to the talent in different aerospace companies,
true.
which I'm sure
It's huge.
Have you inadvertently been helping with the diversity challenge in terms of like now folks from underprivileged areas and
Yeah.
those who don't have access, to this? Like,
Yeah.
have you found like a surge?
So yeah, that's a great question. So we, when we started this, maybe it's just like, who was viewing it or who was naturally attracted to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we had, believe it or not, 98% male in it.
Okay.
It was massive.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge difference, not a good ratio.
Uh-huh.
And as we grew it and it became more and more open, and especially
Oh,
as
he
it
has
became
the
like,
carbon fiber.
Oh,
as it became kind of like less intimidating or like more friendly in our terms of like our branding and everything.
Absolutely, and that's so important.
We grew 16% on the amount of like females that were in it.
Oh, that's so cool.
Now we have, so one of my really good friends is Archer Lewis, and she's an Armenian composite engineer.
Okay.
And we're going to have, she's going to start running a podcast for OpenX, which is Women in Engineering.
Yes!
And that's going to be super cool.
That's so amazing.
She's also minority, and she's first generation, so all this different stuff, it's like...
That's everything.
I think that's awesome, because there's so many people in industry, and they're incredible. Like,
Yeah,
you have women in industry, like, it really doesn't matter.
Representation's really important, and to have, and there's 10 times out of 10 they want to pay it forward because it's so intimidating getting into an industry like this when you didn't see anybody who looked remotely close to you.
Right.
So that's super exciting.
So I'm going to let
Thanks
her
for
just
everything.
run that by herself. Like,
Yeah.
she'll do good on it. And
Absolutely.
then, I'll just keep doing what I do. And yeah, to me, it's like the more people we can excite and show representation and get more people engaged, that's just like all good stuff. So
if she wants help podcasting, I volunteer as tribute.
done.
This one.
Hey, you too, man.
Yeah, all three of you guys.
Cool.
All right.
Cool.
Food, drink, anything?
Water?
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks,
See you next week. Bye.
everyone. Love you. Bye.
Oh, were we still on?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
were.
but
Okay.
like if informal
Patreon, okay.
show after the show kind of thing. I need to take all of my.
Lots of votes for the carbon fiber tiara. Remember, ad is not posted.
Oh, after dark.
After dark. The show after.